It's 2.4 kilometres. It's about a 150 km/h average speed. Craig Lyons holds the lap record at a 57.99. It's one of Australia's hardest tyre sort of circuits. It wears the tyres very hard. It's a very coarse surface. It's a real horsepower track and very, very hard on brakes.
Well, as the cars come down the back straight and they get ready, we take a look at the grid. Greg Murphy, for the third time this season, is off pole position alongside Russell Ingall. Alan Jones, another good qualifying effort. He shares row 2 with Peter Brock.
Glenn Seaton, great fight back that yesterday to get back from that damage and move up to 5th position in a car that was far from ideal. Tony Longhurst alongside in the Castrol Ford. Row 4, Stephen Richards, great effort that from the Team Barbagallo driver, and John Bow struggling with setup throughout practice.
Back on row 5, Mark Larkham, another top 10 qualifying effort alongside the top privateer, John Faulkner. Alan McCarthy, the West Australian, and Larry Perkins with some problems.
Row 7, Mark Poole in the Scots Transport Commodore, and he's going to start with no front or rear windscreen. If you watch later in the program, you'll understand why. Darren Hossack alongside him. Row 8, Terry Finnegan, the Sony Autosound car, and Grant Johnson. We
then go back, Osborne and Price share row 9, Walker and Kendrick, the 10th row.
And starting off the back, Dick Johnson, and he's got a lot of work to do.
There are the two guys that are going to be fighting it out. It's going to be a very interesting first corner confrontation. They've had their differences throughout season 1997. On the far side, it's HRT, Greg Murphy. This side, it's Castrol Perkins, and it's Russell Ingall. We get ready for the start. This is round 8 of the 1997 Shell Australian Touring Car Championship, the first of 3 races here today in Western Australia. Very important for Murphy to get away to the best possible start. Let's keep an eye on the lights. Green they go. Murphy, he gets a lot of wheel spin off the line. Seaton's gone out onto the grass and he's damaged his front spoiler by the look of it, but Ingall's got the jump.
Fantastic start, and look at that. There's been contact at the first corner. Stephen Richards and Russell Ingall go off into the sand. Looked like Ingall had a little bit more momentum. He may get back onto the track, but you can see that contact as they tried to squeeze through that first turn. So it's a Mobile Holden Racing Team 1-2. Greg Murphy survives on the inside. Peter Brock comes up to join him in second.
Unbelievable. We said to keep your eyes on the first turn. AJ's back there in third, and it's Murphy who will lead them around through Shell Corner for the very first time. Unbelievable. Stephen Richards will go no further in this race. He's buried.
Well, Greg Murphy and Russell Ingall had a bumping duel down into the first corner, but in the end, Russell turned into the corner a bit quick. He and Stephen Richards got caught up together, and obviously here's Steve on the outside of Russell Ingall, gone straight into the sand pit. He's got nowhere to go, and Russell luckily isn't deep into the sand, so he's been able to drive across, get onto the grass and get back out on the road, although last.
Well, there was a lot of speculation before that there was going to be contact at that first turn. Look at this big challenge under brakes as they sweep through. Larry Perkins at the front of that quartet. Glenn Seaton trying to fight his way through. He got squeezed on that start. He was in 5th position on the grid. As we go aboard the Ford Credit Falcon, 200 kilometres an hour in these wet conditions. He's trying to look for a way on the inside of John Faulkner as they break hard for Bridgestone Loop. So Seaton really fighting for position.
Look how close he is to John Faulkner. Faulkner's fighting Bow, and Perkins has done a tremendous job to get up there.
So braking hard now as they come through Shell Corner, up over the Barbagallo rise, down toward Cold Corner. Conditions still very slippery. You can see the amount of rain still on the screen of Glenn Seaton's car as he tries to find a way through past John Faulkner.
The ideal start for the 2 Mobile HRT cars. They're off out in front and streaking away. Alan Jones will be happy about this. It's Faulkner on the inside into Cold Corner. He's got a good inside run there on JB, and he's taken him.
Well, the Bridgestone tyres have been pretty dominant throughout qualifying here. John Faulkner, of course, running on the Bridgestones, and they're very, very effective under these conditions. Look at Seaton now having a challenge on Bow on the inside. They'll come over side by side. Look at the damage to the front spoiler of Glenn Seaton's Ford. If that thing continues to break up, Mark Scape, that's going to affect his performance.
It certainly will. Look, Glenn will have a lot of understeer. The cars have about 100 kilos of downforce at the front, and with the damage to the front spoiler, Bow back now up the inside to do the crisscross on Glenn. This is a real battle for the championship, and obviously Glenn will be doing a good job to stay in that position.
Martin Larkham comes up the inside as well. He has a look now at the back of John Bow. Terry Finnegan is right on Larkham. Have a look at this. 6 cars, in fact, in a nice little bunch. They're all chasing Perkins, who's sitting there in 4th position, and Seaton will keep a close eye on that damage at the front end.
Have to watch Ingall too. He's been shuffled right back to 15th position after that first corner incident. Have to see if he can make some ground, but look at the damage on that front spoiler section.
Only 8 points the difference between he and Russell Ingall. Talking about Glenn Seaton, who leads the way in this championship. And where he's sitting at the moment will help, especially with Ingall being right back and also Bow being behind him as well. But have a look at Mark Larkham in the Mitre 10 Falcon. He's having his best run of the year.
And Terry Finnegan too, right up there in 9th position. The Sydney Privateer and the Sony Autosound car. He's doing a great job right up behind the Mitre 10 Ford. But this is the man we're watching. Windscreens O'Brien profile. Glenn Seaton driving the Falcon EL, and a damaged one at that. Of course, the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship winner in 93, twice runner-up in 94, 95. Australian Endurance Champion back then. Here's his results so far this year. Very, very consistent. The only man who's been in the top 3 in all 5 years of V8 competition. A very consistent runner. He's really going to have to dig deep here today.
Well, it looked like Larkin was having a look at the inside of John Bowe. There we go on board now. The number 30 Ford Credit Falcon working quite well, as here's our race leader, Greg Murphy. Started from pole for the 3rd time this season. He's had a very up and down season, and it would be good to see Greg get a win here. His teammate Peter Brock sitting inside. His farewell run here at Barbagallo. We now go on board with the king of the road. Having a look in his mirror, he's having a look how far Alan Jones is in behind him. The windscreens O'Brien profile.
Back through the gears, swings it in, nice and gentle. Just trying to get this 1.3-ton touring car. And look at Alan Jones sitting in behind the Mobile Holden Racing Team duo. So at the moment it's Murphy, Brock, Jones, Perkins under fire in 4th position. John Faulkner, in fact, coming up right along Perkins down the pit straight that time around, just behind this battle. Keep in mind too, it's the Holden Racing Team with Craig Lowndes and Peter Brock that did an absolute demolition job on this round last year, 3 from 3. Very dominant performance. Looks like they're repeating it in even slippery conditions.
The last time we saw these sort of wet weather conditions at Symmons Plains, it was the same scenario, the Bridgestone domination with the HRT cars, obviously with a great setup for the rain. So many of the guys have started on wets, which are a big block wet weather pattern. And some of the guys, Tony Longhurst, have started on slicks, which means in the early part of these race, they'll suffer for speed, but as the race goes on, if the conditions stay dry, then they may come through the field.
Our last round at Lakeside, it was very much a Ford day. Looks like the tables could be turned here with the 2 Mobile HRT cars out in front. The last 10 years, Holden have only had 2 wins out of the 10 races in the last 10 years, and one was last year with Craig Lowndes and Jimmy Richards back in 93. So this could be Mobile's turn to change as Alan Jones comes right up, and we have a look further back in the pack.
Looks like John Faulkner has disappeared from there. Thought he's having a big challenge on Larry Perkins last time around. He's nowhere to be seen.
He's gone.
So John Faulkner's gone quite now. I think he's back to 9th position. Have to keep an eye on that one. But Faulkner was having a real run at Perkins, a real charge in these opening laps, and he's disappeared. So Murphy, Brock, Jones, Perkins, Seaton, Bowe, Larkham, Finnegan up in 8th, Paul and Ingle back in 10th position. So Russell's made up 5 positions in these opening laps.
And mark that interval, that gap between this bunch here, between Seaton and Bowe, and then go back to Larkham. That's opened up. It was a lot closer a couple of laps ago. Glenn's been able to get away from JB, and likewise on Larkham.
Mark, if these conditions stay as dry as they are, that's really going to hurt Ingle, because I believe he went for a smaller cut. There he is, John Faulkner. Well, that's where he ended up. He disappeared off our timing monitor, and then you couldn't see him coming along pit straight, and that's where he is, over the back of the circuit. He's out of the car.
He was running so strong. They had a few problems with the car yesterday, but then they came back. Have a look at Alan Jones, though. He is right up with Peter Brock. Brock just driving a little bit defensively there, holding AJ off. And Jones is going exceptionally well.
Now, Glenn Seaton, too, is waging war here. He's great fight back. He's up to 5th position, so it appears at the moment as though that damage to the spoiler isn't affecting the performance of the car.
Just take notice there of Brock and his experience. Down pit straight that time, moving over to the inside of the road, which is onto the wet part of the track, because obviously the tyres will start to suffer. So what you do is you get onto the wet part of the circuit and cool the tyre whenever opportunity you can. And I think really the way that Jones is coming along, the car's very soft, so it'll look after the wet weather tyre well, so he'll be strong later.
Keep in mind, AJ doesn't go too bad here at the Barbagallo Raceway. He won the round in 1994, and he finished 4th here last year. He got a couple of thirds, so he runs fairly consistent. He's sitting in that same position right now in the Komatsu Falcon, but at the moment, it's all Mobile HRT affair as we go on board. The windscreens O'Brien in-car camera. Here's the profile of Peter Brock, 9 times winner at the mountain. You can catch him the 18th and 19th of October, the Australian 1000 Classic this year. There's his progress so far in the 97 season, a 2nd at Symmons with his teammate Greg Murphy. That was a 1-2 effort. He's been fairly consistent throughout season 97, Mark Osler.
Certainly has. Doing a bit of development driving for Bridgestone tyres as well. Experimenting with some different constructions throughout practice, but now that it's wet, it's all academic. You can see him trying to hang on to the back of his teammate on windscreens. O'Brien. Onboard camera takes you aboard 05, right up behind his teammate Greg Murphy, with Alan Jones really applying the pressure from behind. Look at that great leading trio.
I think you find at the moment that actually Greg's holding Brock up a little bit, and you can watch the body language of Greg Murphy's car. He's trying to get the car onto neutral lock, not slide it too much, because if you get too sideways and you hurt the rear tyre, then your performance will come back. Look, I mean, the field is really bunched up. These first three are really going for it.
Look at this, a run down the inside. Brock gets out on the wet there. Just trying to keep his tyre temperatures under control.
Have a look at Jones coming around the outside.
Now Russell Ingall too has gone for a small cut tyre. That may hurt him if these track conditions continue to dry out. Look at Alan Jones, a big challenge up the inside. They may go side by side into Yokohama corner. No, he pulls back and gives Brock a little bit of room. But Jones has obviously got plenty of speed aboard the Komatsu Ford at this stage.
Brock just holding AJ out enough there. In the 21 years that they've been racing here at Barbagallo, no one has won more times, more rounds than Peter Brock. He's won 4 rounds here, and that's more than anyone else. So could he do it again?
We're just watching that gap behind these leading trio. Larry Perkins, he's just done a 105.18. That's 5.6 seconds behind this gap. We've seen him close the gap over the last few laps. So LP could be right into this lead battle within a few circuits.
What we saw this morning was that in the warm-up, when it was quite wet, the Bridgestones were really dominant. But as it started to dry up at the end of the session, the Dunlops come on very strong. So now Larry Perkins and John Bowe are coming through the field. John Bowe's just got Glenn Seaton, and Larry Perkins is lapping the fastest of all the top, say, 5 or 6 runners.
Looks like he may have gone the right tyre choice. If he's running in the 5s, his teammate Ingall, a 106.43. So we'll see if Ingall can make any move, but he's a long way back still. 9th position, some 21 seconds behind our race leader.
These are the HRT mobile cars of Greg Murphy and Peter Brock, and the king of the road's got him. Up the inside, Brock goes into the lead, down through Kolb Corner, so we have a new race leader. Well, the fans are cheering here on pit straight, and Peter Brock goes into the lead. Interesting to see now if he can open the gap on Greg Murphy. Mark Scaife, the opinion a couple of laps ago that he was holding him up, and already it looks like he's opening it up, but you can hear the crowd cheer as Peter Brock comes up on the pit straight once again. He's leading this one. Greg Murphy back to 2nd position. Alan Jones in 3rd. And look at the amount of ground Larry Perkins has made up. He's right on this leading trio. Perkins is right up there now as we go on board with Peter Brock. Very briefly there. He now leads this race from his teammate Greg Murphy. Keep your eye on Perkins because he's come right up on the back of Alan Jones. He's just done a 105.11. That's 2 seconds quicker than what the HRT cars are doing. Well, that's right. These Dunlop tyres in these dry conditions, they are working a treat. Bowe too is going very quickly. He's just on a 64.4, so he's really closing the gap. They're all going to bunch up if the conditions stay the same. Perkins. Perkins just snuck inside Alan Jones.
He drove around the outside of him at that left-hander and then up the inside for the next, which means really the grip level is very, very high. And you can see now by the amount of grip he's got, he's back up the inside of Murphy. Fantastic move. I mean, it just shows at this part of the race, the Dunlop supremacy with a big block, wet weather tyre they're using. Here comes Larry. Peter Brock's lead may only last for a very short time because Perkins is just on fire. I'm going to be very keen to have a look at our timing monitor when they come across the line this time through because Perkins is just on fire. He's now up into 2nd position. Keep in mind he started way back in 11th position. And John Bowe, you talk about Perkins pouncing, look at that, the Shell 18 Falcon, he's made up an enormous amount of ground, so he's up behind Jones too. So the Dunlop cars are absolutely flying as these track conditions change. Last lap, John Bowe was a full second faster than the next car, so if he can get to the back of Alan Jones and Greg Murphy, he has a big chance of getting a real points haul in this event where he really didn't look very strong to begin with. Tell you what, he's the fastest man on the track too. 104.19. Bowe is absolutely flying. We go on board with Bowe. Shell Helix. Falcon down the inside of Jones. Did it very, very easily. I think Alan gave him a little bit of racing room there, knowing there was no point in fighting. He's obviously got a massive grip advantage. And look at him pick up on Murphy. 2 cars coming into Kolb, 1 coming out. He is absolutely on a flyer. This is fantastic for John Bowe, particularly in terms of his championship position. And Larry Perkins now takes the lead from Peter Brock. So it's a Dunlop onslaught. Perkins now moves in. We've got a new race leader on lap 14 of 20.
Perkins is in front in the Castrol Commodore. Then we go back to Brock. We've got a new third place runner as well. John Bow in the Shell Helix Falcon is up there into third. So this race is really, really changing face all the time. There's Bow. He's gaining on Brock, and Jones is giving Murphy a hard time.
Just fantastic racing. And Stu Seaton, I think he's helpless to fight back. Car 30 sitting back there in 6th position. He really hasn't been able to make an impression, running back in the mid 66-second bracket.
Well, the other day, John Bow said, I'm a realist, and I realise that I'm the long shot for the championship. I'm 22 points behind Seaton, but I tell you what, he's on fire. We're on board now with John Bow in the Shell Helix Falcon. He is working overtime, and well, something that's working are the Dunlop tyres. They're going beautifully.
Well, the Dunlop race cam certainly shows Bowie at work. What he's doing, he's driving the car very, very smoothly. He's the fastest guy on the circuit. And when he gets to Brock, I mean, the grip level is so much different. I mean, the grip level of the Dunlop at this part of the race is so high that Brock's defenceless. Up the inside of Brock, I mean, he can't block him. He just hasn't got enough grip to be able to do so. Exactly.
When you're catching someone hand over fist, the most sportsmanlike thing to do is let the guy through. So he sneaks inside of Brock. Now it's Perkins and Bow, 1-2. And by the amount of speed that Bow's got on board, he's just on a 1:03, a 63.9. Perkins a 4.4. Bow is the fastest man on the track, and he may well catch Perkins before this race is over.
Larry coming up on our female driver there, Melinda Price, her first race in the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship, part of the Castrol Cougars team. Larry's going very well. We'll see whether John Bow can make any ground. Here's Melinda. She's doing well.
Well, the team boss, Larry Perkins, coming up behind us. She gives him plenty of room, as you'd expect. So Perkins now coming under fire from John Bow on the Shell, 18 forward. Oh, Melinda gets a little bit skaty there under brakes for Cold Corner. And Bow will be right up behind her and looking for a way through.
Well, Bow is definitely catching Perkins. We've still got plenty of time left to run, as you can see there. Your lap count, top left corner of your screen. This could very well be John Bow's race. Have a look at him. Here he comes. Up on the inside of Melinda Price, and he's got Perkins right in hand.
He's really flying, isn't he? A 1:03.9 the last time around. Everyone else operating in the 1-minute 4-second bracket and higher. 5 laps to go, so he has got a bit of time to close in on the back of Perkins, but it's one thing to close on Larry, another thing to pass.
Certainly is, and you can see Bowie, he's still got the wiper going there at the moment. He's so busy that he won't even worry about it at the moment. That's the least of his dramas. And what he's doing is he's out on the wet line at some places so he can keep the tyre cool. We said it earlier, but this part of the race now, clearly the fastest, out on the clean bit of road, and certainly catching Larry. I'd say that he's a big chance of nailing it.
Talking about coming on strong when it counts, not only in this race but in the championship. John Bow, 2 seconds and a first at the last round at Lakeside. It was his first round win at Lakeside ever, as he has a look on the inside of Perkins. Can't do it through Cole. Let's see how he goes out of this. He's right on Larry. Coming up onto the Ready Mix back straight. Let's see how he goes.
You can see the reflection of his lights. He comes up side by side as they come across the rise, 230 kilometres an hour, and Bow goes down the outside of Perkins, but Perkins very strong under brakes, beautifully positioned for the run on the pit straight, so Bow is going to have to work very, very hard.
Larry goes straight for the inside line. He was trying to hold him out here, Mark Scaife.
Well, I said that he might go for the crisscross, but Larry went straight to the inside and didn't give him the opportunity. Obviously, he's going to try to hold him up, but as I said, I think that Bowie's speed is probably a little bit too superior for it, and in the end, he'll get him.
Well, just that time around, he's done, Perkins did a 1:04.3, Bow a 3.8. Bow is clearly the fastest man on the track at the moment. But Perkins, as he proved at Phillip Island, if you drive a nice conservative line, it's very, very tough to get someone to go around you, even if it's the long way around.
Keeping you in touch with the rest of the pack. Brock in third, Jones has got past Murphy, Seaton in sixth, Larkham seventh, Ingle eighth. The best privateer is Alan McCarthy in ninth, and Tony Longhurst is in 10th.
Well, he's a wily character, Larry Perkins, enormously experienced, drove in Formula One sports cars, spent most of his life sitting in the seat of some sort of a racing car, so he's no rookie at this sort of warfare. And we've seen him plenty of occasions hold a guy out when you didn't expect that he would. So John Bow really going to have to dig deep here. He goes under brakes hard for Yokohama corner, but Perkins has him covered once again, running out of opportunities. John Bow, as they come onto the pit straight once again and head down toward Bridgestone Loop, comes up along the inside of Perkins, but Perkins once again has him covered.
Well, it looked like Larry was going to give JB a little bit of racing room there in the Mark Scaife, and then he decided to change his mind.
I think what he did is he looked in the mirror and he saw that there was enough gap that he could actually take the racing line instead of having to cover Bowie. And in the end, Bowie's going across the inside of the road to get on the cool bit of surface again. I think Bowie's actually said to himself, what I'll do is I'll look after the tyre for a little bit and I'll have a major attack at him right at the end again, because this is probably the best way to optimise your performance at the end of the race.
Well, Bow's attack has certainly cranked Perkins up too. He's just done a 63 as well, so they're both operating in the 63-second bracket. And Perkins really responding to the challenge. Well, once he's got his fingers into this one, he can almost taste it. He's not going to give it up without one heck of a fight. Bow now switches to the outside. Perkins gives him room because he knows he's on the ideal line for Yokohama corner. They'll go side by side. Bow half a car length in front, but Perkins once again very strong under brakes, takes the position back.
This is exactly the way that Larry drove at Phillip Island when he picked up a win there. Have a look at Melinda Price. She's staying with the boys too. She's doing exceptionally well. We've got 2 more laps left to run. Can Larry hang on? Here goes Bow on the outside.
Side by side as they come back toward the Bridgestone loop. And you can see Bow applying the pressure up the inside now. They go side by side through the S's. Bow just ducks back in behind the Castrol Commodore. Fantastic racing from 2 very professional motor racing drivers.
So we'll watch this time when they come up onto the ready mix back straight. Bow's been getting a pretty good exit speed out of Kolb Corner and been coming up alongside Larry. We'll see what they can do this time. Here they come down this very quite steep hill into Kolb Corner. Now watch Bow. He drifts out wide. He's going to bring it in tight and get a good run out of here. Can he get Larry this time round?
Well, it's a fabulous battle here, but I've got to say, Melinda Price sitting in there behind him doing a great job too, just to stay with them. Look at this, cut and thrust. Bow now ducks out of the outside of Perkins, has a look down the outside as they brake hard for Yokohama corner. Very, very tough on brakes this turn, but Perkins more than has Bow covered. You know, Larry is going to hold him out all the way. He's a very, very tough customer. Look at him move over to the inside line to make sure that Bow, if he's going to overtake, has to go the long way around. Last lap.
This is going to be a great final lap. You're on board with John Bow. We were there for a moment. Now he cuts it back to the inside. Here goes JB. Has a look on the outside of Larry, then brings it back in. Well, 3/4 of a lap left to run here at Barbagallo. The first race of round 8 of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship. Could John Bow start the day on a high note, or is it going to be Larry's day?
Well, fellas, can I change my bet now? Because I put my money on Bowie a minute ago.
Yeah, well, Larry Perkins, he's a very experienced guy. We've seen him in this situation plenty of times, and he's answered the challenge from Bow. Unless he makes a mistake here, he could well have the Shell 18 car covered.
Here goes John Bow. This is his final run. Let's see what he can do about Larry Perkins. If Perkins has got the inside run, which I'm pretty sure he will have, this will be Larry's race. JB has got to do it the long way. They come down into Yokohama. He's not going to be able to do it from there. It's going to be Larry Perkins as they come onto the main straight. The Castrol Commodore of Larry Perkins takes out race 1 here at Barbagallo. What a finish.
What a fantastic drive from Larry Perkins and John Bow. It was clean stuff. They took the gamble on tyres. The track conditions changed. They pushed and pushed, and not a bit of paint swap. Fantastic racing.
So we wait for 3rd place to come on around, and it will be Peter Brock. He gets a podium finish for the first race. Good work by him. Alan Jones coming around now. That will be your 4th place car. Greg Murphy just running very wide there. So it looks like even Tony Longhurst may have got up there. So very interesting end to the race. There's Peter Brock. He's quite happy with his efforts, finishing in 3rd. He did very, very well. John Bow, what a drive he had. The Dunlops proved to be so good. As we have a look at the final placings for you now, Larry Perkins in for a tremendous win, ahead of John Bow, Peter Brock. Tony Longhurst up there for 4th, ahead of Alan McCarthy. That is a terrific finish. The privateer from West Australia is in the top 5.